What's up, guys? I want to talk to you guys today about evictions. The right way and the wrong way to do an eviction. The right way and the wrong way to do an eviction. And first, I'm going to highlight the wrong way to do an eviction. I don't want no one to do an eviction this way. Now, these evictions, how I do them, totally remote, but it's a gentleman, a good friend of mine, and he handled his eviction the wrong way, absolutely wrong way. And guys, you just kind of never know who you're dealing with out here. So I'm gonna just touch on this method here that he used, and it's the absolutely wrong way to do an eviction. Don't ever do this, not even on YouTube. But check it out. So this is what the guy did. He's a very established investor. He had like 60 properties. He's retired from Chrysler. He's actually he's a good friend of mine. And basically what he did was he was selling a house on land contract. Selling the house on land contract, and the people refused to pay, refused to leave. So he was having a conversation with a quote unquote friend. He was having a conversation with a friend, and he was like, man, if they don't move, I just burn the house up. Wow, burn the house up. And he's laughing about it. The guy's laughing about it. And so he said he'd burn the house up. And the guy was like, you gonna burn the house up? What, are people in there? He's like, yeah, I just burn the house up. And I give you $50 to do it, right? So little did he know that this guy that he was talking to was wearing a wire, right? He was working with the police. So, it might have been some other stuff, or more than likely was some other stuff. He's wearing a wire working with the police. But anyway, by him making this statement on tape being recorded, he turned his so-called friend turned that into the police, and he ended up doing 20 years. He's doing 20 years for that attempted murder. So guys, don't evict people like that. So let me share just a little bit of example of how we go about doing evictions, how we go about running our business. A lot of times when they say in real estate, people say location, location, location. Now that is true. Location, location, location is true. If you're on the way on the outside looking in. Me, myself, I come from the inner city. Maybe I should be, a little bit more nervous in the inner city than I am. But I'm more interested in the price of the property, not so much in the location of the property. And if you guys don't know, in the inner city, you can get some properties fairly inexpensive, but you got to have the right system and processes in order to operate in those type of areas. So one thing I do, at one time, we were in 3 different states, 9 different cities, operating a massive operation. And so one thing I've learned from one of my mentors, when we go into an area, we usually establish, I have a background where I'm a correction officer, not law enforcement, but correction officer. We kind of work, well, we just have a working relationship with police officers, whatever. So usually when I go into an area like that, even before we even get to eviction, even before we even get to buying the properties, I usually establish a working relationship with the police officers and the sheriff department. Usually either from a referral, or I might just call the police department myself and establish a working relationship with the police officers and the sheriff department. And one thing you're going to learn once you get experience in this real estate investing, it's kind of a different way of making money. A lot of people want to learn how to do it, and just because these guys are police officers or sheriffs or detectives or whatnot, they want to learn the business too, because it's a good way of building wealth, right? So sometimes I exchange knowledge to get the guys to kind of, do some different things for me, off duty or whatever. So say, for example, when we were in Detroit, I had a working relationship with a gentleman, and he used to help me out with evictions. So it wasn't so much that we went to court. I pretty much hired this gentleman. He'd go over there and have a conversation with him. And once he showed him the badge, and he might bring a couple of his police officer buddies, and we usually, were able to evict people without going to court. So that's one strategy that we use. Another strategy that I've used, like I said, coming up in the inner city, you have different relationships with different people. Unlike my buddy, though, I have an uncle, and I've utilized him a couple of times. Not so much of a person that's going to go in there and threaten nobody, but he talks to people with his interpersonal communication, let them know that it's pretty much time to go. And we have done that several times effectively, and to get people evicted that way. But I do not recommend that, because that system right there is kind of hard to duplicate. He just has a certain way with words, and just a certain way, just a certain personality that we were able to get people just kind of move down the road. one strategy that I do use in several areas, and that is repeatable, like I said, the working relationship with the police officer, the working relationship with the sheriff department, and I use them in conjunction with attorneys to evict people. You might say, if you just got the attorneys, why do you involve the police officers? Because I have the police officers and the sheriffs kind of working beforehand and kind of monitoring the whole situation just to see if they see anything just out of line. They can step in there and handle the situation to kind of help speed things along. So that's pretty much how I go about doing evictions. I utilize different people in the areas. I work with attorneys, and as well as which I recommend, like the different investors, establishing relationships with the local police department and the local sheriff department in order to help get your things kind of moving along. I know it seems kind of weird, you're working with police officers, working with the sheriffs in order to handle business, but it's worked for me, and it'll possibly work for you too. And if you want to know exactly how we go about doing things, I mean, you can build an amazing real estate portfolio without spending a whole lot of money, because you're paying less for properties. You buy properties that other people don't desire to have, but you have these different systems, and you put these systems in place to allow them to run relatively smoothly. So if you're interested in learning more about that, man, just reach out to me. 567-277-1235. Again, that number is 567-277-1235. Until next time, evictions, the right way and the wrong way to do evictions. When you're doing evictions, always involve attorneys, get your local police officers involved, and handle it smoothly. Don't try to intimidate people to do evictions. It's sometimes a blow up bad for you in your face. All right, talk soon.